Hey guys, welcome back. It's me, the AlkaliYogi. Long time no see. If you're wondering where I've been for nearly 2 months, I've been on my own healing journey. I have been doing loads of healing, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And I can't wait to share that with you all because I have been documenting all the progress that I've made. But that's not why we're here today. Today we're here because I wanted to put together a care package for a dear friend of mine. And I wanted to share this information with her. And so I figured, why not share it with all of you? Since going on this detox journey that I've been on for the last 2 months, which obviously included also a digital detox, because you've not seen me on either YouTube or Instagram, then in that time, going internally and sort of doing a deep dive also in the World Wide Web, and also just gathering additional information, wanting to really understand this concept of the gut and how it relates to our overall health. First and foremost, let me say that wise ancient traditions like those in India, etc., already know that the gut already have been practicing and already have acknowledged the fact that the gut is in fact probably the first brain, to be honest with you. That's why oftentimes when we hear sayings like listen to your gut, right, or when we feel something intuitively, we don't feel it in our minds. No, quite on the contrary, we actually feel it in our bodies, right? We either get a response of like a rapid heartbeat, or perhaps we transition into shallow breathing. These are all indicators that our body is trying to communicate with us that this is something that we should either avoid or that we are able to go forward with. And so the gut has been very I don't want to use the term neglected, but we'll say it has been maybe not given the respect that it deserves in terms of the potential fallouts of having a compromised, unhealthy gut. What do I mean by that? Well, those of us that live here in the West, especially in America and Canada, I would venture to guess even in the UK at this point, 90 to 95% of the population easily have one or more symptoms. When I say symptoms, I mean they could be symptoms such as getting gassy and bloated after a meal, all the way to things like multiple sclerosis, lupus, blindness, diabetes, symptoms that are associated with people, for instance, on the spectrum even, right? So it's quite a wide range of symptoms that I'm referring to when I say symptoms, that virtually everyone now has a symptom. Diabetes, a symptom. Eczema, a symptom. Inflammation in the body, a symptom, right? So most people have something that they are trying to reverse and or heal. Most of those things can be traced back to the gut. The problem is that the people that we look to, our health professionals, are not being direct and upfront with us in that most of those things could also be reversed and healed just by us, well, A, taking accountability for our own choices and actions, and B, making the difficult choice of, I shouldn't say difficult, making a different choice in that we're choosing to practice now lifestyle medicine, meaning that our lifestyle and our choices are what have gotten us into this situation for the most part. Now, the blame is not entirely on us. There had to have been greater forces at work to sort of help confuse and convolute the idea of what wholesome nutrition even is, right? In this country particularly, the number one crop growing are in fact grains. And grains have been wreaking havoc on our gut. When, if you don't believe me, again, the numbers don't lie. This is the sickest, most obese population on the planet. It's not by coincidence that this country also grows more grains than anything else. Because ideally, some people would have us eating and living off of grains. The problem is it's not working out for us. And that's why we have all of these issues. It's becoming more and more evident through the research that I've done and in practicing in my own life that a paleo diet is more conducive to health. And I'm not saying it's the only diet that's conducive to health, nutrition, and healing, because I've practiced other diets, i.e. I've practiced the alkaline diet, and I've actually been able to reverse viruses that in the West have been considered incurable. And that's a testimony that I can give and provide. But for this particular conversation, I'm working now through grains to address other symptoms that I personally had myself. And I've made immense headway with the changes that I've made. Of course, the first thing to do, the best thing to do, is always to do a detox, because that will also help with the cravings. Now, as far as detoxes go, there are several that we could get into. I won't get into them now. It's a deeply personal situation, or choice rather. I chose what was best for me. You should also choose what's best for you after consulting with a holistic practitioner and your GP, and whatever health professionals you tend to consult with. After you've done that, you want to get into a place of making different choices. Having just come out of a deeply profound detox, I have absolutely zero desire to put things back into my body that I was, putting into my body from time to time. My nutrition was fairly clean, but I was still having the organic corn chips, and the organic popcorn. Going forward, I'm choosing to be grain-free at least 80% of the time. And so that means that those options are really not available to me. And if they are, they're going to be extremely infrequent, because I've healed my gut and I certainly don't want to take myself back to where I was. So what are the things that are really harmful to our gut? Well, definitively grains. We know that. The science backs it. Dairy. Primarily, it's it's unpasteurized, conventional dairy that's really harmful. But when you are healing your gut, you want to steer clear of all dairy, period. Of course, sugars, right? Sugars are never ideal, especially the processed cheap stuff, whether it be processed cheap honey or processed cheap white sugar, which we should all be steering clear of. These things all compromise the gut and have not worked out well for us. But there are other things as well that have not been beneficial to our gut, such as antibiotics, such as the pollution in the water, right? The pollution in the air, the EMFs, all of this stuff that we're exposed to consistently is also compromising our gut. But today I just want to focus on what snacks do you have still available to you, given that we are living this modern lifestyle. Sometimes you're traveling, you're going to children's parties with your kids, or you, are just having a moment and just want something that's salty and crispy. Not a lot of it, but just a little bit, right? In moderation. What choices do you have? You don't have to go back to the popcorn. You don't have to go back to the potato chips, because those things are horrible for you. You definitely don't need to go back to the gluten pasta. So what options do you have, right? Well, ideally, you're going to go grain-free, right? That is something that we should all be considering. I'm not saying it's a one-size-fits-all, because there are things like metabolic typing that I would do with you, primal pattern testing. There are conversations that we would have, possibly some lab tests that we would run to sort of get an idea for what's best for you. But kind of generally speaking, because grains and pollution and other things have gotten us into this, the things that have helped us get into this situation, we definitely want to get away from. You see, the grains that we're consuming today don't resemble anything like the grains that may have been around 2,500 years or so. They simply don't. They've been hybridized, they've been genetically modified, and so they're unrecognizable. Now, the ego can always be fooled. It's very easy to seduce the ego, to seduce the mind. You can place a label that says organic, you can place a label that says gluten-free, you can place a label that says vegan, but none of this really correlates with health, unfortunately. It seems that we need to take it a step further and really try to avoid, actually avoid grains as well, to the fullest degree until we're fully healed, and dairy and sugar. And then once we've healed our gut, introduce some of those things back in moderation, but really learn to live off eating things like vegetables, fruit and vegetables, which are your carbohydrates, your protein, which could be fish or other animal proteins. It could also be inclusive of nuts and seeds, and then your fats, i.e. things like avocados, coconut, which are wonderful for you. There has been a myth that's been circulating now for many decades, which was done intentionally to dissuade people from eating fats, which are absolutely necessary and a part of your healthy nutritional diet. And instead, what they've done is they convince you to eat grains, which, as you can see, has not worked out for us. But the myth being that fats are what make you fat. Well, actually, fats are what make your cells. Fats are also what make your hormones. So imagine asking your body to create or repair damaged cells or create new cells without fats or hormones. We need hormones that are repair hormones, growth hormones, etc., without fats. This is what's creating havoc in our body. We need fats as much as we need a certain amount of, fruits and vegetables and protein. That's just what it is. Grains, when you look at, the paleo diet and you look at our ancestors who were primarily nomadic and who were moving and kind of just grazing off the land, would not have been baking things like delicious baguettes, delicious biscuits. They would have just sort of been picking berries, maybe chomping on some greens and, eating whatever gamey meat or fish they could get their hands on. Perhaps they'd enjoy some nuts, coconuts, of course, avocados, but no one was making corn chips for their guacamole at that time, right? So we want to make things a little bit simpler. And that's really what we do as holistic practitioners is we just remind you that our lives have become far more complicated than they need to be. And simple is always better. There is an acronym for that. It's called KISS. The acronym is KISS, which is Keep It Simple, Stupid. And you can apply that to so many things in your life, including nutrition, right? So eating things like just fruits and vegetables, proteins, and fats is quite simple. You don't need the grains, but I understand and I understand that given the lifestyle that we live, given where we are, and given the demands on us, sometimes traveling abroad and all the rest, that sometimes you just might need to grab something, might want to grab something, but again, in moderation. So I want to introduce you guys to some of the snacks that I currently have in my home, which I believe are okay in moderation. But again, question everything and listen to your own intuition and your gut, because you are a completely unique human being who should be making completely unique choices for yourself. I trust you to be able to be your own healer, your own doctor, your own Shah person, because you were equipped with the sixth sense and the intuition to do that. Question is, do you trust yourself? Sometimes I know it can be hard to listen to that inner voice because that inner voice can be quite subtle. And when we're living up here cerebrally, it's very hard to listen to our gut and our intuition, which lives down here, right? So doing whatever you can to get out of your head and into your body, whatever practices you have for that, breath work, meditation, yoga, dancing, singing, painting, whatever it might be, do it more frequently. Become more childlike, more playful, so that you can tap back into the power that you already have inside you to really steer you into what's right for you. In the interim, as you're working through that, I'm going to suggest to you some things that I believe are better than sort of the more mainstream items, food products that are out there rather. And again, I want to reiterate that this is not a sponsored video. This is just me sort of doing my best, to shop and bring into the household things that I know would be better than the really cheap, sort of overly processed stuff for my own family, who I know still have cravings for things that are crunchy and salty and sweet, etc. So beginning with chips, grain-free. Remember what I said, we are not replacing gluten for gluten-free items. We actually want to get to grain-free items because the gluten-free items are filled with a lot of fillers, with a lot of other binding agents, which really just become another problem, another situation in the gut, because so much of it is lab manufactured and is just not natural, right? So you really want to work towards grain-free rather than gluten-free altogether. Now, this is one of these products that I quite like because it really is just a handful of ingredients. As you know, I don't get seduced by things like just, non-GMO verified. I don't get seduced by gluten-free because I know that I have to actually look at the ingredients and read them so I can decipher what's coming into the body. So we have cassava flour and cassava starch. So we know that cassava is in fact a starch, right? So because of that, you still want to have it in moderation. Also, they put avocado oil, coconut flour, which is great, chia seed and sea salt. Lovely. The main ingredient though is cassava. So for that reason, again, in moderation. Were these like made of almonds or something else? I would say great. But they're chips, right? They're crisp, so they're made out of cassava. And that's still better than wheat. But that doesn't give you free range to go ham and eat an entire bag. Also note that this product, as great as it is not organic. And so here we are losing out on the fact that this is not an organic product. So for that reason, again, I can't 100% back this product. I'm just saying for those of you that are still consuming conventional foods, which I hope and pray you will move away from entirely at some point, here you have something that's grain-free, and look at that, it's also paleo. They also have a sweet version, right? Churros. Again, cassava flour, cassava starch, avocado oil, coconut sugar, agave syrup, pumpkin powder, cinnamon, psyllium husk powder, sea salt, vanilla powder, and vanilla powder. So as you can see, again, ingredients that you can read and identify as food items, right? As opposed to try this, ost that, yada, 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 these really complicated and long sort of scientific terms. So those are options for you. Both paleo, both should be eaten again in moderation, but really beneficial for people that have, again, any kind of symptoms, which are any of the things that I listed earlier. When you are wanting to scoop up some of that delicious guacamole and you simply need a cracker, this is an option. Hue, which is a restaurant. Is it still a restaurant, guys? I've not been to New York yet, although I'll be in New York soon. When I lived in New York, it was a restaurant on Fifth Avenue. So they make these great crackers, and what I like about them is that they're very transparent. Again, no tapioca, no dairy, no soy, no maltodextrin, no refined starches, yada, 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 right? So good product. Almond and cassava and potato, okay, and organic coconut flour. So again, something that you want to be eating in moderation, but the rest of the ingredients are really good. I love to see organic apple cider vinegar, sea salt, shallot, organic thyme, rosemary, etc. So organic coconut aminos, I don't have any issues with those. So again, in moderation, as you can see, paleo, this is an option. What would be a better option, in my opinion, are plantain chips. Now, this particular plantain chips, I don't recommend because it has one ingredient, tapioca maltodextrin, that unfortunately converts into a sugar. It's really a glucose. However, the other flavor, which is plain, still by these same people. So actually really like this company, really like this brand, just not the lime one. I would really recommend going for the plain, which is a pink bag, representative of the pink Himalayan salt, sea salt, pink Himalayan salt, sorry, because you can't be sea salt if it came from the Himalayas, right? The Himalayan salt version of this is a far better product, so I would recommend that. And this is a great alternative for scooping up that delicious organic guacamole, homemade, of course, right? From time to time, you know, the kiddos are going to want some pasta. You can't forego pasta altogether. Maybe some of you can, but for some kids, it's going to be really difficult. So what would I recommend in that case? This. Now this is, again, cassava, right? So in moderation. Sometimes kids are really picky and they just want, you know, the rice, the pasta, and I get that. So this is a better alternative than a gluten-free rice bran version of a pasta, or a chickpea pasta or a lentil pasta, because legumes, again, should be very limited in that they really just act as a way to sort of just plug you up, right? That's why so many of us, when we consume beans, experience gassiness and bloatiness. That's really, again, your body telling you that you have an intolerance to said beans or legumes. So that's why I say that this is better than a legume pasta. Having said that, I still wouldn't advocate for you having this all that frequently, maybe once a week at most. The other thing with this particular pasta is it has zero binding agents, so it completely loses its structure if you try to reheat it, meaning only cook what you know you're going to eat, clean out your pot, and be done with it, because this does not come back to life. This same brand, by the way, Jovial, which I believe is from Italia, does make a gluten-free, which we're trying to stay away from, egg tagliatelle, which is nice once you know that your gut has been healed and you've reintroduced maybe rice back into your nutritional rotational plan. If you notice that you don't have problems with rice, then you could from time to time swap this out and take and instead enjoy the tagliatelle, the egg tagliatelle that's made also by Jovial. Now there's another brand out there called Capello's. You can find them at Whole Foods in the refrigerated section. And they make their pasta entirely with almond flour. So this is actually far and superior. Now, it is an expensive product. I don't have any with me now, but I do from time to time, whenever I can get a sale, buy their pasta, and it is lovely. They also make the lasagna noodles, so during the holiday season, you can buy the lasagna noodle made with the almond flour from them, and you can, again, maintain a grain-free holiday season if that's something that you're interested in. Now we've foregone, our crisps, our potatoes, our popcorn, yada, yada, yada. So sometimes you still want something savory, right? Salty. Well, what could you have? Good healthy fats. Sprouted, of course, because when you don't sprout your nuts or your seeds, what happens is you bring anti-nutrients into the body, also known as phytic acids, which I believe are there to actually protect the seeds in the plants or the seeds in the fruits and vegetables, but they're not good for us, unfortunately, right? So sprouting them is key. Sprouting quinoa, although quinoa is a grain, so I'm not really advocating for quinoa either, guys. You should be sprouting legumes. Again, not advocating for legumes either. You know that I'm really advocating at this space and time in my life anyways, a paleo diet. These would qualify as such, and these have been sprouted and they're organic, and the only ingredients are the organic sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds and sea salt. Bada bing, bada boom. Beautiful. Bob's your uncle. These are great. I think if you introduce these to the kids, they won't even miss the popcorn and the crisps. Speaking of sprouted nuts, you can sprout your own nuts, save a whole lot of money, but if you just don't have a time and you're a busy bee, here you go. And they don't just have almonds, they have cashews and other nuts, so run the gamut. So what about those times when you want something sweet? You're still human at the end of the day, right? Although if you do a detox, I promise you won't have as many sweet cravings, because frankly, after I did my detox, I came out not craving any sugar at all. But, from time to time, again, birthdays, holidays, travel, you're going to reintroduce some amount of sweetness back into your life, and then that opens up somewhat of a floodgate, doesn't it? So what are your options? Well, Hu, the same company that makes these, also makes delicious paleo chocolate bars. Really clean, organic, again, no fillers of any sort, very transparent, no sugars, no erythritol, no dairy, no soy, no palm oil, emulsifiers, lecithins, soy lecithin you see in everything virtually. So it's really good to see companies like this that really are practicing with integrity. This is a great option. They have other flavors that are also paleo. If this is not for you, I quite like this one. Urban Remedy. This may not be available in all parts of the United States, but I know that you can sign up to them online. They also have a double chocolate version if you want more chocolate than simply just a chocolate chip. I don't have that in hand. This is what the hubby likes, so this is what he's been eating from. These are not actually labeled paleo, but they're made with almond flour. And I look at the ingredients, it's sunflower seed, it's coconut sugar, it's coconut butter. So these are a good product, cinnamon powder, filtered water, flax seeds. So these are good to have. Again, remember, these things should be had in tandem and on occasion from time to time, but these are not your meals. Remember, your meals are composed of the Holy Trinity, right? The top three, which are the fruits and vegetables, the protein, and the healthy fats. That's your Trinity right there. And then you supplement when you're on the go, et cetera, with these other things. Last but not least is a company that I've actually partnered up with, Ruani. And I'm an ambassador, so you can go to their website and enjoy a 10% discount by typing in Alkali, A-L-K-A-L-I. That's Alkali for 10% off your purchases. Ruani, which again, also not labeled paleo, but when you look at the ingredients, again, very much so, coconut sugar, organic avocado oil, organic almond flour, organic eggs, organic chocolate, that's vegan, ashwagandha root, vanilla extract, etc., sea salt. So very recognizable food items as opposed to laboratory concoctions. Delicious. They have other flavors. I really recommend this one though, because the other flavor has coffee, which is caffeine, which would actually still keep it paleo, but you wouldn't ideally give that to the kiddos. So for the adults, go for it if you're wanting and needing some caffeine. So long as you get your caffeine in before noon, you should be fine. And the other flavor that they have is one with peanuts, which is actually quite delicious, but peanuts are not actually considered paleo. Almonds and cashews. Don't quote me on the cashews, but almonds are. Cashews might not be actually. Are paleo, which is why this is okay. But the peanuts in their peanut version of their brownie, their peanut butter and chocolate version, wouldn't classify necessarily as paleo. Now, all of Ruwani's products are amazing and can be enjoyed, period. This is just my preferred flavor. And again, it is a dessert, so you want to go modification. Yeah, moderation. Sorry, not modification. In moderation, because desserts should really be enjoyed, guys, on special occasions such as birthdays, Christmas, Easter, and the like. So just remember that desserts are not meant to be had regularly and frequently. It's just the way it is. And that's really all I wanted to share with you all for today. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments. I'll get to them. And if you want to work with me, go to AlkaliYogi.com. Again, the information below. Reach out for your free consultation and we'll see if we're a good fit and we can move on from there. I appreciate all of your time and attention as always. Get free and stay free and heal yourself. You've got the power to do it. Until next time, bye.